We've spoken about data, we've spoken about OCR, we've spoken about how we get that information out, that information that's vital, how we sort those processes. How do you see clients at the moment, their structuring of data? Do you think that that most clients are ready to implement artificial intelligence solutions on top of their data, or is there a lot of work to be done to get them there? Hey, Aaron, how you doing?
Hey, Jamie. Doing good.
Good. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hello. It's been a little while since we've seen you, but I'm very excited to have a discussion here today with Aaron Shorey, who's one of our VIM consultants at Turnpikes. And we just wanted to have a chat about a few of the areas that we've seen recently, a lot of clients wanting to talk to us about, and get into some of Aaron's experience, which is invaluable stuff to get into. So, firstly, Aaron, do you want to just let everyone know where you're based? Because I think it's a cool place to be.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Shorey, and I am based in Porto, in Portugal.
Amazing. Great stuff. So I'm sure you've got nicer weather than me here in London today, but I won't get into that. No one wants to hear me complain about that. So firstly, obviously, we need to talk a bit about VIM today, but there's some other general areas I wanted to kind of look at and cover. The first question I had for you was actually around cloud solutions, because I know that you've got some great experience in that area. I don't want to talk about cloud as if it's been here for a week and no one's ever heard about it. I want to talk about cloud because it's been around and people have been implementing it. But where do you see cloud currently in the ecosystem, and how do you see it moving forwards into the future?
Well, currently in the context of the VIM ecosystem, if we talk about cloud, currently the way the product stands, that conversation then becomes centered around OCR technology, and specifically IES, which is the information extraction service.
Okay.
And so this service is, when it's cloud-based, it can be cloud-based or it doesn't have to be cloud-based. It can be on-premise. But IES is the latest technology for OCR, delivered by OpenText in specific to VIM. And it replaces, or is in the process of replacing ICC or BCC. So the Invoice or Business Capture Center, OCR tools.
Cool. And so OCR is a fascinating thing for me because I think it gives you so many options and possibilities. Could you just go very quickly into an overview of a bit of OCR and let some people know what exactly you're referring to?
Yeah, so the purpose of the OCR technology is, the primary purpose of it is to provide a means of automation for the indexing of the data for the incoming documents, whether they are scanned or emailed as a PDF. Right? So whenever there's an image, a digital image involved, then there's an opportunity for an automation by means of a technology to extract the indexing data and deliver it to the correct fields. Also, in support of providing accurate results, which may not be perfect, there is also a step known as the validation step, whereby a user can manually view the incoming data prior to it being registered in the VIM document and correct any inconsistencies. And in that step, because there's a user involvement when the data is less than perfect, there's an opportunity for a learning step. So, and that technology around the learning, I would say there's two variations depending on the old approach and the new approach. So here we start to now step into the realm of AI with the new approach, because on that learning step with the old approach, and when I say the old approach, I'm now speaking towards BCC or ICC.
Mm-hmm.
That learning was based on templates. So it was really like okay, so here's an invoice for a specific vendor. Let's create a template for that specific invoice and that specific vendor based on what the user is teaching me, where that correct information should reside on the image. And so that's very specific. It's very targeted, but it's also manual. It's also manually intensive in the sense that a user would have to deliberately go to the image and say, I'm going to train an invoice now and do that specific task just for the purpose of training. So it's not a seamless, transparent type of training, for one. And secondly, it's prone to errors. And if a user messes it up, then there's a step to correct it, which can be a bit of an undertaking. So there are some complications or disadvantages of that approach. With the machine learning, on the other hand, which is where we're headed now with IES, it's more of a transparent, seamless way of learning, because the user simply works as they would normally work. There is no special step to say, I'm going to train the system now, because the system is, in a way, it's almost like in the background paying attention to what the user is doing. So if a user makes a correction in their indexing screen as part of their normal job, the expectation is then that the system learns that behavior and over, maybe it might take more than one correction, but eventually, because there's a history that the system, there's an algorithm at play here. So when we talk about AI here, we're really talking about algorithms.
Yeah.
And the algorithms has to weigh that new correction against past history, because the algorithm gets to decide. Maybe they didn't really mean it that time, because in the past it was always this. So it has to weigh that data. But in the end, what we arrive at over a short period of time is that the user doesn't even need to pay attention to that indexing in the future. It's the system understands where it's supposed to.
I think there's so much power in that, isn't there? Because we've spoken a lot about a few areas of that. One, the more manual intervention you have in any process, the higher the risk of a mistake. I think that's natural. We've spoken about it for quite a long time. And the second part of that is also the better your data and the better stored your data and the more consistent your data, the better any AI successes are in the future, right? Does that sound sort of sensible to you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the AI is in the end, it's to a certain extent, it's not going to run with its own decisions. It's always going to, in the end, require, it's going to be dependent to a certain extent on the user's inputs.
Yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing, isn't it? And this goes well beyond VIM. We could probably have an hour-long conversation about this in general, which maybe we will at some point, which I think would be quite cool. But the fact that data in itself is the lifeblood of AI, it's the foundation. Information and feeding any form of algorithm, like you say, people use the term AI a lot. That's one part of a huge gamut of stuff that we could talk about. But algorithms and the way we feed them, it's the only way to continuously see success and grow. Do you think cloud-based solutions lend themselves to that in a quite obvious way, or is there anything that people should be aware of and maybe a bit wary of when they're using cloud-based systems when it comes to their data storage or their AI features?
No, I don't think. In my opinion, I don't think the cloud system is providing any specific advantages to adopt AI over a non-premise system. In the end, I think if we look at SAP and what they're doing with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, this came about with the move to this HANA database system. And what that meant was greater speed and performance. And so and which is, again, HANA is not dependent on, doesn't require you to be in the cloud.
Yeah.
And we see another area of VIM whereby that comes into play, where there's an opportunity for AI there as well. If the HANA system has machine learning activated, then there's an opportunity for learning around the coding of invoices. So cost allocation of incoming invoices, and which we call smart coding.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another opportunity for less human intervention, more automation, because the system is learning by user inputs.
And smart coding comes as standard, right? It's out of the box.
Yes, it comes standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not activated out of the box, but it's available.
Yeah. For anyone who wants any more information on that, feel free to go back to some of our previous videos. I think there's a couple we've spoken about that, but I actually want to go into that a little bit, because do you think everyone knows how much capability there is out of the box when it comes to smart coding, artificial intelligence, foundations, OCR? Is there a problem with that? Do you see clients who maybe don't know that? And let's not mention any names, obviously.
Yes, actually, most of the time, clients are not aware of this capability, and which is unfortunate, because I think if a client has machine learning and artificial intelligence in the forefront of their strategy, then I think it really does help them to reap these advantages more easily. Because in my experience, here I'm talking about smart coding, because most HANA systems don't actually have machine learning capabilities enabled, and to me that's surprising. And by the time that we are in the project where the conversation comes around smart coding, they are then reluctant at that point to switch it on. But
why do you think that is? Because that's a really fascinating thing to try and unpack for a second, because we all talk about AI. Is there an element where people are uncomfortable, they don't think they're ready for it, or is there another reason that they're just not moving in that direction?
Well, I think there's this element of risk, because at that point in the project, when things are already underway and you're well into your implementation step, there's this great reluctance to enable something at the root level, because here we're talking the database. Yeah, enable the database HANA at the HANA level. So I think that's the reason why, at least in my experience. And then the other also, I think part of the reluctance comes from not even perhaps fully appreciating the advantages of turning it on, because a lot of times they're not even aware that this capability was there in the environment. So, but perhaps if they understood all the areas of SAP where they would benefit from enabling it, they'll be more keen to pursue it.
Yeah, I think so many more people are becoming aware of the fact that data needs to be sound for a million reasons and needs to be connected. Do you think it's a matter of time before that conversation just gets easier and easier?
Yes, I think. I mean, it's a definite shift, and it's a definite. It's a change that's progressing, and I think it's becoming more pervasive through the environment. So we're going to see more and more opportunities for AI and machine learning capabilities. Yeah. It'll get to the point where I'd be surprised if it wasn't then the default of HANA behavior to have it enabled.
Absolutely. So I think one thing we've mentioned a lot, and sort of to come to maybe the last question for you, really, we've spoken about data, we've spoken about OCR, we've spoken about, you know, how we get that information out, that information that's vital, how we sort those processes. How do you see clients at the moment, their structuring of data? Do you think that that most clients are ready to implement artificial intelligence solutions on top of their data, or is there a lot of work to be done to get them there? General clients.
I think in the context of VIM, the opportunity is there. You know, if they have IES, if they're implementing smart coding, it's not difficult to make the switch. In other areas, I'm not so certain, but speaking specifically to VIM, the opportunity is there. If you're on a HANA system, there's greater opportunity. You don't have to be on HANA to be using IES on the OCR front. There's no excuse. That technology is certainly out of the box, and you're ready to go. You decide to embrace it on the machine learning. In fact, yeah, and in my experience, most customers are doing that. Yeah, certainly, yeah. Insisting on the system to learn, because with the OCR system, you really are running subpar performance without the machine learning. So in that sense, the expectation is that you do enable it. Awesome. And in the end, you have to trust the capabilities of your own human users. And there are instances where the only situations where they didn't want to turn it on was because they were afraid of, they didn't trust that their new service center, for example, was up to the task of providing correct delivery of inputs.
Yeah, I said this for a long time. The key word in this is artificial. It's only as intelligent as the people that teach it, or the data it can read, or the knowledge it can gain. So you better trust your individuals to make the right calls and to understand what they're doing.
At least work the way it exists now. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Aaron. I'm sure there's a million questions that will get come through in comments, and we'll certainly get back to people and address those. But in the meantime, have a great rest of the day, and really good to speak to you. Thanks so much.
Okay, you too, Jamie. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks very much for watching. If you'd like to see more from us, check out other content on our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on social media, or you can visit us at www.turnpikes.pro. Feel free to subscribe to get upcoming notifications of our new content, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.